Hello, beautiful soul family. How are you guys doing? Today, I just wanted to share a very personal story about my own awakening journey that I haven't shared with anyone before. And this is something that is so personal and so profound, and it'll be unbelievable to 3D consciousness. But if you're on a spiritual path, if you're on your awakening journey, then you'll totally resonate with some of the crazy things that happen along this path. And just yesterday, Eldora and I were reminiscing because we were in this mood we were kind of having a review moment and going over all the crazy experiences that have brought us here in Costa Rica today. And man, we could write a book about all of this, and we will one day. There's just so much craziness, so much lessons, so much magic that has unfolded. It literally feels like lifetimes worth of experiences have been downloaded into us over the last 7 years. So I know a lot of people are going to be able to relate to this in one way or another. So I hope you take something away from this that helps you in your own spiritual path. Our journey started 7 years ago when we first met. We had a profound awakening when Eldora and I met. We triggered each other's awakening, and our attraction to each other was just undefinable and extremely intense. It literally, we know beyond any shadow of doubt that we had a soul contract to meet at this point in our life 7 years ago and to do great things together on planet Earth. But it wasn't easy. It's not like all the steps were given to us. It required a lot of courage and a lot of letting go of things from the perspective of our human self. It just seemed insurmountable. But with our faith and with our guidance, we kept a clear vision, and we kept our path always fixated on whatever is for our soul's highest good. Let that stay, and whatever is not meant for us, let that wither away. And our lives have shifted dramatically since then. So since our meeting and coming together, we were shortly guided afterwards we were invited by our guides to Mount Shasta to start initiating into a mystery school. And that's where all the magic started. That's where all the guides and angels started taking notice of us, and we started aligning our lives. And I have to say, from the very beginning, our path was very different from the normal path, in the sense that we fully dedicated ourselves to this path. We knew beyond a shadow of doubt that we do not resonate with the way things are done in the old world, and that we need to express our gifts and abilities to the extent that whatever we can do to help bring a positive shift in our own personal lives and in the lives of the collective, we want to give it everything that we can, and we fully dedicated ourselves to this path. So we took the hard road, we took the fast track. And we rolled up our sleeves, and we told our guides from the beginning, fuck yes, we're willing to go all in, and just show us the way. And they did. And you can do that too. So when you dedicate yourself, when you show interest, when you show determination, and when you show that you're willing to let go of all the things that are not serving you, your guides, your higher self will always guide you to your highest path. And it may seem challenging while you're going through it, but it's extremely fulfilling and extremely rewarding in the end. So when we started our initiations in the Melchizedek lineage, we had a very rapid awakening after that. We started gaining all kinds of spiritual knowledge. We read a lot of books. We just dedicated our lives to our physical fitness, our health, cleansing our bodies. And shortly after, I got initiated as a shaman into the mushroom medicine circles. So it started for me as I did my own medicine ceremonies out of curiosity, and I had such profound awakenings in these medicine ceremonies that I realized I had built-in powers that I carry within my DNA that were just dormant and waiting to be activated, and I couldn't get enough. So initially in 2016 or so, we started hosting these medicine ceremonies with mushroom, and it went very well. Like we were holding space for about 12 to 20 people on a bi-weekly basis, and the word was getting around and it was spreading like wildfire, and people were having profound and magical shifts. And during this whole time, we were having such rapid awakenings because medicine ceremonies are good for people who want to do the inner work. They're not good for people who just want a shortcut and they want a way out. So I'll advise a word of caution to those pursuing medicine ceremonies like ayahuasca and mushrooms. Don't get addicted to it. They have a timeline, they have a purpose, and when that purpose is served, you have to let it go and transition to the next step. Many people make the mistake of just staying stuck in that zone for a long time. So what these medicine ceremonies allowed me to see is I started seeing the higher dimensions very clearly. I started having vivid meetings, like face-to-face meetings with my guides. There was literally a moment, and all of these experiences are not all during the ceremonies. Most of these experiences, spiritual experiences that we've had, were completely in our sober state. There was one time I recall when my guides were calling me up into their realm, and I felt like I was entering this temple of light, this chamber of light, and when I went in, I came into what seems like a conference room, is the best way I can describe it. These are all inner visions I was having while being in a very heightened spiritual state. And I met my guides face to face for the first time. And my guides introduced themselves as the Council of 12. They were beings from all over the galaxy, very high ascended beings. And Archangel Michael was my main guide until that point. And that was the first time I was introduced to Metatron. And I was shown in that meeting that Metatron will be taking a more active role in my ascension. And I rose to the challenge. I was also told that Metatron only works with spiritual adepts and initiates who are very disciplined and who are very rigorous in their training. So Metatron doesn't mess around with people who are not serious on their path. So this happened. I started receiving downloads and channelings from Metatron. I still do. But at this time in my life, there's so many communications with so many groups that I'm not mainly focused on channeling Metatron. In those days, I was like glued to every single word of his, and I'm setting intentions to bring that back because I miss him. So Metatron started guiding me on my path very, very intimately. And I responded. I rose to the challenge. We let go of all of our habits, all of our addictions that were keeping us locked in 3D. We switched from tap water to pure filtered spring water. We cleansed our bodies. So physical cleansing was a big component of our journeys, and it is for everyone, because right now in our normal state, our bodies are so full of toxins from all these GMOs and pesticides and all these lower 3D frequencies, that these are the main things that block us from being able to receive higher light and to be able to translate that into guidance. So the first step was for us to cleanse our body and completely spiritually align our path. Another big thing that Metatron guided us and showed us was that we cannot have even a sliver of ego on our path. So every time, even the slightest sign of ego arose, we would immediately be reflected that, in a very gentle way, and we allowed that to go. So we became very good at monitoring our own frequencies and making sure that whatever we're doing, our intentions are to assist the collective. It's not for our own self-vanity purposes. So none of that is allowed in the higher realms for those who are serious. So there was this one time when I was doing a ceremony for myself, and I was clearly guided in that instance. This is around 2017. I was clearly guided in that instance that Eldora is to hold space for me while I go into this medicine ceremony. And I didn't expect anything. It was just a regular ceremony until the point where I got, when I'm on medicine, when I'm on the mushroom medicine, and we do it in a very sacred shamanic way, we call in the ancestors and the guides. That's another important thing. If you're ever doing medicine ceremony, the vibration of the shaman is everything. So if you're going with a shaman who's still stuck in their ego and tooting their own horn and doing it for profit, or not the right intentions, not for pure intentions, then you're very susceptible to psychic attack. So in this ceremony, I was being shown by my guides that I need to call Eldora in that moment, in this particular moment. I was down in the basement and I had to call her downstairs to accompany me as something, some process or some healing process was about to take place that I didn't know about. That's all I was told. So I called her over, and Eldora was fully in sync with the guides at that point. She was still in the initial part of her awakening journey. She was awakening, but my awakening happened kind of like 1 or 2 years ahead of her. So whatever I was experiencing, she was experiencing the similar experiences of awakening 2 years down the line. And at that time, she didn't have a clear, open channel to her own inner guidance, but she, in this particular instance, was so tuned into the guides, and the instructions were so clear because the guides wanted to make sure this procedure, what was about to happens flawlessly. So she came down. I told her that I'm going to lie down on the floor. I just need her to hold the space for me, make sure everything stays calm, and in case I need her. And she intuitively felt guided to play some random meditation on YouTube. And it just happened to be a Metatronic binaural beat frequency that was, when she played it on the computer in the room, it started sending jolts of electricity and pulses in my body to the extent that my whole body started vibrating. And this was not part of the plan. So make note of the fact that I did not tell Eldora to play that track. She got her instinct that she needs to play something, and it happened to be this particular track that is just sending electric vibrations in my body. And at that point, I was lying on the floor. My whole body is like convulsing. Like it literally was visible to the point like you would, as a passerby, you would look at me and think I'm having a seizure and you need to call 911. Like my feet and my legs, my arms, my head, they were all like lifting off the ground and then falling back. It was like literally I'm being struck by bolts of electricity. So during this whole process, I'm fully connected with my guide, so I'm not going into panic mode because I've had such crazy experiences before this, and I'll share some of those with you, this didn't faze me, neither did it faze Eldora. But my guides were channeling through me, so imagine my body convulsing, and I'm channeling my guides to Eldora just to tell her what I'm going through. And I was speaking in a very calm way while my body's like going crazy. And I was telling her, baby, I'm fine. My guides are telling me I'm going through a higher self merger at this point. And you don't need to be worried. We don't need to call 911 or anything. I'm fully fine. And you just need to be there and hold space for me. And I love you, and everything will be amazing. And this is a good thing for me, although it looked like I was going through an attack or something, right? So I went through that. This process took place for about 20 minutes. We even have a video footage of that I may or may not share because it's so intimate. I'll decide later, and I might upload a clip of that in this video. So what took place was I was literally getting visions of this aspect of myself that was a feline. It looked like a feline aspect of me. So imagine like a cat-like humanoid being that's completely black. Okay, and this being was merging with me. I could literally feel this being merging with me. Okay, and I was fully aware that this is me. This is not some external being. I was fully aware that I'm safe, and this is me, and this is a higher version of myself, and it was literally coming into my body and sending me jolts of electricity. So this process occurred, and then the palpitations stopped, all of the body movement stopped, and I just rested on the same floor I was lying down on, and we were just looking at each other with eyes wide open, like, what the F just happened, right? And I told Eldora that there was a certain healer I used to see in those days. I told Eldora that I need to see her right away, and she also held the shamanic energy. So we immediately, like, this is half an hour after this incident occurred, we immediately sat in the car. I was so ungrounded, I wasn't even able to drive, so I had to get Eldora to drive. And I remember it was a half an hour ride to that healer's home. We'd booked an emergency last minute meeting. And I remember the sensations I had in that moment were as if I'm an astronaut from space who's traveled hundreds of millions of light years, or indescribable distance to be here. It was not distance as much as dimensional traveling. So I literally felt like I'm a being who has just arrived in this body on Earth. Like, literally felt like I'm a newborn baby. But it felt like I've just been dropped on Earth and I'm in an adult body and I have no clue what's going on around me. So it was the craziest experience I've ever had. I fully knew who I was at that point. Like, I had not lost any memories of who I was as a person, as a human being, but I also knew that I'm not the same person anymore. And I remember looking outside the window of the car, looking at Earth, thinking, wow, this is what Earth looks like, pretty cool. And I was like in this dazed state the whole time, going to the healer. Next couple of months, that healer helped me. Next couple of months, I integrated a lot of this newfound energy into my body. I was going through crazy changes over the next few months. I had a few more incidents in random public places where I would like let's say I'm just finishing up a yoga class and I'm lying in Shavasana, and suddenly in a class of like 20 people, I started having these seizures again. So it was like this merger, or the side effects of this merger, took place over the next couple months. It really changed me in profound ways. If I think of the person I used to be before and after this event, it's a completely different person. Like, I would say the best way to describe it is that I have all my memories as my past self, as Omer. That was my birth name, which I don't resonate with any longer. And I was given the name Simon Ra in December 31st, 2018. So Simon Ra and Omer are completely two different people. Like, you put them side to side, maybe their eating habits are the same, maybe their passions like music and a few other things are the same, but the personalities are day and night. My higher faculty started coming online. My higher chakra started coming online. My guidance system just exploded, to the point where since then I've been able, it's a gradual and exponential increase in abilities, but since then I was literally able to hear my guides speak to me as if you're speaking to me in the same room. And that's been one of the biggest assets in my spiritual journey, to be able to differentiate what's good for me versus what's not good for me. So going a little bit deeper into what these walk-ins are. Walk-ins are a merger of you with your higher self. And some people confuse walk-ins with like entity attacks. So some spiritual teachers caution against walk-ins, but I believe that the teachers who are cautioning you against a walk-in experience are ones who have never experienced a walk-in themselves. So they may be confusing a walk-in with an entity attachment or an external attack from a negative influence, which is completely not the case here, because I know the experience I went through, and I've just had profound and positive and magical effects since this happened, and I was fully aware of the process, and I had to give my permission. Even though it was my higher self, I had to give permission for this process to take place. So I was fully in charge of the process. Nothing was imposed on me. It was done willingly. And walk-ins occur in very rare cases when you as a soul come with a soul contract that at a certain point in your life, you have the option to merge with your higher self in a very profound way. That's what a walk-in is. And this only happens when you're fully dedicated to your spiritual path, you're willing to go the extra mile, go the distance, and make all the changes in your life that are needed, let go of things that are not needed. And also it happens when you step up to a role that is greater than your human self, but it is vital and instrumental to the ascension of the planet. And this is what I realized that we had decided, myself and Eldora, we had both signed up for this journey, because we've had many past lives, and some of those past lives that we now recall, we have vivid memories of ourselves as priest and priestess in Atlantis. We have memories of Atlantis sinking and the enormous destruction that took place. And we also know that all the experiences that we've had in past lives as masters on Earth are the experiences that we are now recalling, because those are the powers and knowledge that we're bringing back to Earth at this point in our ascension. And these are very important pieces of information that are being downloaded into us to be shared with humanity, as the lost Atlantean knowledge is now resurfacing. So Metatron, High Priest Melchizedek, Sanat Kumara, all these beings have been very present in our life. There was a point shortly after the walk-in experience, so my guides always kept a watchful eye on me, and they always watch you they don't spoon feed you. They always watch you from a distance in the initial part of your journey to see whether you are willing to go the distance without them giving you a guiding hand, right? So in the initial part of your journey, your guides will always kind of be distant from you, because they want to see how much self-discipline, how much enthusiasm, and how much aptitude you have to rise up, to merge with your higher self. And the initiates and the people who are walking their spiritual path, the ones who show more mastery, the ones who show more discipline, more courage, more faith, they're the ones who get more attention. So similarly, after this walk-in experience, it doesn't guarantee anything to me in regards to my spiritual success. I was still being monitored closely and observed as to what decisions I make, whether I start regressing into my old 3D patterns, or whether I step up to the plate and work towards being more of my higher self, bringing more of my higher self online. And we never let up. We never let up since day one, because we knew that we have a very important role to play. And we were simply, more than anything else, we were so fed up of the way things are occurring on planet Earth that we did it more out of a desire for change, for better, for our own lives and hopefully for humanity. That was our main driving focus. We just wanted to shift out of this slavery, and it was becoming too intense for us. So over the next few years, we got guidance that I got guidance that I'm to transition out of my job. And I had no idea at that time how I would support myself, because I had been working in the software industry for like 13 years. And at this point in my life, I was getting guidance that I'm going to transition out of my job and dedicate myself full-time to the spiritual path. And I rose to that occasion too. When my job ended, a certain contract, my last contract was in 2016. When that ended, I gave into the universe. I surrendered, and I said I'm willing to go the distance. And I remember this one time in Mexico when Eldora and I were going for a vacation. This was in Cancun. We were both, we came back from the beach in a beautiful hotel, and we were lying down on our bed. And suddenly, on top of the screen of the ceiling, I started seeing this eye. This eye, it was a gigantic eye of God. And I saw very vividly this eye of God came and appeared in front of us. And I was told that there are four ascended masters who are all Kumaras. So the Kumaras are Sanat Kumara, Lord Kutumi, and I believe there's a few ascended masters. There were four of them. They were accompanying the eye of God, and they were above us, hovering above us in this hotel room in Cancun, and they scanned our whole field. This was a year after the Walkin, and I believe they were taking note of our vibration and where we were at that specific point, and they were just keeping tabs on us to see whether we're progressing, whether we're stagnating. And we kept on meeting all the markers, like we kept on progressing, we kept on moving forward in our journeys. I also recall this one time initially when Eldora and I had met. This is the story of how my spiritual healing powers came online. We were partying. We loved house music. We love house music still. And in those days, we used to go to the Gov a lot, the government nightclub in Toronto. And this is like, so now I'm hopping back to a moment in time before my walk-in, like this is a year before. And in this club, we were just out with friends, and they offered us a pill. And we didn't know what it was. They were just like, try it. And they said it's really good stuff. And in those days, we were not really like serious on our spiritual path. We were just having fun. We were just like, we had just met. We wanted to celebrate. We wanted to enjoy life. We wanted to dance and socialize. So we tried it. And our friends had told us it's extremely strong, so give it some time. So we tried it. We waited for 2 hours and nothing happened. And we had an extra pill each. So Eldora and I had taken one pill for 2 hours and nothing happened. So we're like, you want to try the second one? Nothing's happening, right? So we took the second one. That's where things went sideways. Within half an hour, I started feeling this surge of energy with this drug taking over me. And I don't even know what to this day what it was exactly. But it took over me so powerfully that I started freaking out, because I realized that the intensity of what we had just taken was too much, right? And Eldora wasn't there yet, but I was kind of shown this before she reached her climax. So I immediately all my faculties came online, because when Eldora, I realized that I will need to hold space from Eldora when she reaches this climax point. So immediately I'm like, baby, this is not right. Something's happening. I'm being overwhelmed, and this thing that we took is too strong, and we need to get out of here as soon as possible. So we jumped into a cab, and she was like, what are you talking about? We're fine, like we're having fun. And she was still giddy, and she was still in the initial part where it's like fun. So she's like, fine, if you say so, if you're sure about it, let's go. So we grabbed the first taxi cab, and I told the cab driver, just take us to the closest hotel, and it was the Weston Haber Castle. And this was around 2016, like a year before the Walkin. And I have no idea how I gathered my faculties together to be able to get us from the club to the hotel while going through this overdose. I literally was overdosing, but I had to use what I would say are superhuman powers of will and strength to overcome this feeling, to be able to get Eldora to safety and myself. So within a few hours, within an hour or so, we ended up at a nice hotel room. And by this time, Eldora was going into her palpitations. She was like freaking out. She was like shivering. And she told me something really scary. She said her heart feels like it's gonna stop. I'm like, oh fuck, right? Like what did we get ourselves into? And I felt like shit. Like, I'm like, how can I allow this? How I'm putting her life in danger. This is not right. And for the first time in my feeling, I had this experience, like my whole body is on fire. I started looking at Eldora, and I felt like this higher energy had taken over my aura, which I later found out was Archangel Metatron. And I found out that I have amazing healing powers within me in that moment, in that state, because that's what I needed to stabilize her. It's very possible that this was a very close call with death. It was serious, guys. So Eldora was like freaking out. She's like, we may need to call 911, my heart's stopping. And I looked at her body in that moment while going through this experience of higher self coming into me. And while looking at her, I can see sacred geometry all over. I saw sacred geometry in her face, in her eyes, it's as if I can see through her body multi-dimensionally, and I can see all the matrix codes inside her body. And I knew that if I sent her the energy from my hand, I could stabilize her chakras. Now, keep in mind, I was not a healer at that point. I did not know anything about energy healing, and this is one of my first spiritual experiences. So I told her, and Eldora was completely unaware of it too, of course. So I told her, if I can help you stabilize your chakras with my hands. And I was doing some movements on her body with my hands and sending her energy and stabilizing her. And she felt a little better, but her human mind was questioning what's going on. So she told me, I'm feeling better, but I'm not sure you're doing it. I think it's just wearing off. And I said, if you feel the intensity that's coming out of my hand right now, it's going to be too much for your eyes. So I placed my hand in front of her eyes, like an inch or two away, and it felt like the light is so intense from my hand that she had to literally move away. And then she got it. She's like, okay, something's happening with this guy, and he's not just bullshitting. So I ended up, that was a close call. I ended up, I think, saving her life. I hope we never go through that kind of experience again. And we learned our lesson, and our guides were like, you know what, this was the initial phase of your meeting. You didn't know all these things, but never under any circumstances should you ingest chemical drugs, because those are detrimental to your light body, and those cause irreversible damage that will completely halt your ascension. So that was like our first and last warning sign, because guides, again, they don't spoon feed you. If you want the advice, take it. But we took that very seriously, and I recommend that for everyone listening to this too. no chemical drugs, and ayahuasca, mushrooms, marijuana under very sacred circumstances with sacred intentions, and very limited use for specific reasons. And it's highly recommended you do these things with a shaman in ceremony, so you're fully protected in your field, because these things can open you up to negative entities and dark attacks. So it's very important. I cannot state this enough, how important it is to be fully protected when ingesting any plant medicine. So yeah, this happened. We had some crazy things happen since then, but I just wanted to focus on the walk-in experience and how profoundly that shifted my perspective on life. And since then, I've merged and integrated with this higher version of myself, and I feel it's a very loving being. But another thing that comes to mind is that this higher version of myself helped me balance the dark aspect of me. So let me explain that. Every one of us has a light version and a dark version. Light and dark both work in tandem to make you a balanced human. So when we get too caught up in one polarity or the other, that's when we go off the handle. Both light and dark within our soul need to work in tandem and work harmoniously in order to allow us to express the full expression of who we are and who we are capable of being. So this version of myself that merged with me was compensating for the lack of darkness within me. So it was a black feline being. And also what happened was that before this incident, I used to be a little too love and light. Like I would only focus on the positive, and I would not do well in negative situations where where I needed to stand in my divine masculine and in my power, or use some of my dark energy, use some of that dark energy in certain situations to offset the light. So these are concepts that we'll explain later, because they're very deep and most people don't understand how we work with the dark, because the myth in the light worker communities is that we're only supposed to be angelic, we're only supposed to be light. What happens when you're only angelic and only light and only talking love and light is that you lose touch with reality. You lose touch with the dark aspects of your soul, which are equally important. So all the dark aspects of our soul have allowed us to learn invaluable experiences that are now running, or that are now stored within our DNA. So it's very important for us to work with the dark aspects as well as the light. We have to be fully balanced individuals in order to ascend. And so I also had a shamanic reading from a healer, and she randomly told me that as I'm entering your space for this healing, I see a big black cat guarding the door, and that cat's not letting me in. I'm like, oh, that's my higher self, and they're protecting me. So that was another confirmation of I'm not the only one who experienced this, and intuitives from independently verified what the higher self merger was. She literally saw the black cat there, which was quite magical. So I wanted to share this experience with you all. I hope you enjoyed it. And guides are also reminding us that there's going to be a lot more higher self mergers and walk-ins over the next decade or so, because Earth is going to transition from 3D to 5D in a very rapid pace. And the only way that's going to be possible is when people come online in a very rapid way. And for that to be possible, a lot of walk-ins and higher self mergers need to take place. However, if you're on your spiritual path, I don't recommend the rapid evolutionary path for everybody. It's not for the faint of heart, I must say. It's been quite a journey. It's been, there were times where I was in excruciating pain for months because I signed up for this. So again, this is not a race. This is your own personal journey. We are eternal souls. We're not in a rush to get anywhere. There is no destination. And whatever is meant to happen for your highest good, allow that to occur safely, in a timely manner, not rushed, and go at your own pace. And each one of us has different soul contracts that we've signed up for. So honor your soul contract, honor the pace that you are traveling at. As long as you're not stagnant in your life, as long as you're moving forward on a regular basis, that's all that matters. But hopefully this shed more light on walk-ins, what they are, and if you ever have had a similar experience or a walk-in experience, would love to hear about that in your comments. And do check us out on Telegram, check us out on Instagram, and wishing you guys so much love. And yeah, it's intense these days, and just go easy on yourself. Love you so much. Take care.